So we are learning moving charges and magnetism. Then I was telling you that around 1820, around 1820 to 1840, most of this happened in Europe. Not most of this, all of this happened in Europe. What happened is basically people took a magnetic field. So a magnetic field is just like an electric field. And suppose you have a magnetic field in this inside the plane of paper. This is a magnetic field inside the plane of paper. So there was a force F acting. F is equal to Q into V cross B. So what it means is that if the angle between velocity and the magnetic field B is 90 degrees, force is maximum, and that force is the cross product. Okay, now suppose you have a vector A and you have a vector B and you do A cross B. C vector is equal to A cross B. The angle between C vector and A vector or B vector is 90 degrees. That means the cross product is always 90 degrees to the original vectors. So if I do I cap cross j cap, so I cap cross j cap will give me a vector which is perpendicular to both. So k cap is perpendicular to I cap and k cap is perpendicular to j cap. So this force vector is perpendicular to velocity. Okay. So now, do you know of any motion where force is perpendicular to velocity? Can you think of any motion where force is perpendicular to velocity? So if you look back, you will see that it will work out to be circular motion. So in case of circular motion, the force and the velocity are perpendicular to each other. So this force that we are talking of, which is equal to Q into V cross B, now becomes the centripetal force. Centripetal force is a force which is acting towards the center. So this Q into V cross B becomes a centripetal force, and it is responsible for the circular motion. This is responsible for the circular motion of the charged body. So now suppose the angle is perpendicular, then I can say F is equal to QVB. QVB is equal to mv squared by r, centripetal force. The VV gets cancelled, and I can say that R is equal to mv by BQ. So when a charged body is pushed into a magnetic field such that the angle between the velocity and magnetic field is 90 degrees, the charged body now starts moving in a circle, and the radius of the circle is equal to mv by bq. Okay. Now for any circular motion, there is a need for centripetal force. So who provides the centripetal force? So it is this QVB that provides for the centripetal force. Do you understand this? Can you make some notes here? Okay, so when a charged object is pushed into a magnetic field, an external magnetic field, it starts moving in a circle provided velocity and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other. And later on, first let us understand this, later on we will see what if they are not perpendicular, all those things we will see subsequently. First let us understand the circular motion properly. Once we understand circular motion properly, then we will look at all other types of motion. Okay. Okay. So if we understand this, then let us move on. So yesterday I gave you some questions. I said, look, this is the direction of the velocity. This is the x direction. So x axis. So I'll say I cap. This is the y axis. So I'll say j cap is along this, and this is along the z axis. K cap. So I said, let the magnetic field be into the plane of paper. So if it is into the plane of paper, I am saying it is equal to some minus bz k cap. Then I said the particle is moving this way with the velocity equal to vx I cap, and the particle is at the origin, it has a charge q. Okay. Then I said the moment there is a force the moment the charge enters the magnetic field, what happens is there is a force which is acting in the upward direction, and this force takes the body this way and it this way. At each point the force will be acting towards the center, and the body will try to move like this. So the body moves in a circle such that QVB is equal to mv squared by r. So here V gets cancelled, and I can now find out R is equal to mv by bq. Okay. Now some more questions for you. So one question is, what is the angle? What is the angle between the force and velocity? Force and velocity. So just now I was explaining to you that look, because it's a cross product, the cross product is always perpendicular. F is equal to Q into V cross B. Because it's a cross product, force will always be perpendicular to velocity. Yeah. Now, if force is perpendicular to velocity, what is the work done by such a force? What is the work done by such a force? Yeah. Now work done is equal to what? Work done is equal to F dot displacement. So it's a dot product of force and displacement. Now if velocity is perpendicular to force, what will be the angle between force and displacement? Now that will also be perpendicular. So if that is also perpendicular, then do you understand that the angle between force and the displacement is also 90 degrees? So do you understand that work done by such a force is zero? Yeah, do you understand that the work done by such a force is zero? So do you understand that the body is now moving with uniform velocity? The direction is changing, the force is only changing the direction of motion of the body, but the magnitude of the velocity is a constant because the work done is zero. Do we understand these? Yes, can I get some response from you guys? I don't see here anything. You guys are there, or I'm just speaking to myself? Yes. Okay, so you all are there. Okay, So do you understand that? So the angle between the force and velocity is 90. So if the angle between force and velocity is 90, the angle between force and displacement is also 90. So if the angle between force and displacement is 90, the work done by such a force is 0. So the only thing that the force is doing, the force is changing the direction of velocity. The force acting on the charged particle is changing the direction of the velocity. So the charged body is moving in uniform circular motion. Yeah, charged body is moving in uniform circular motion. If it is moving in uniform circular motion, what is the time period? Time period is equal to 2 pi r by velocity. Now what is r equal to? R was equal to mv by bq by velocity. So do you see the velocity cancels? So do you see that the time period is equal to 2 pi m by bq? Yeah. Now what does it mean? It means that the time period is independent of velocity, but it depends upon the m by q ratio. M by q ratio. Now, do you remember or do you understand that the first scientist who told you about electron or proton or alpha particle was not able to tell you what is the mass, but they were able to tell you what the q by m ratio was. So how did they find out the q by m ratio? By this kind of an experiment that we are just now talking. Yeah, I repeat again, the first scientists, when they discovered an electron or when they discovered a proton or when they discovered an alpha particle, they were not able to tell what the exact mass was, but they were able to find out what the q by m ratio is. And how did they find out the q by m ratio? From experiments related to this, where they saw that when you push it into a magnetic field, the time period depends only on the q by m ratio and doesn't depend upon the velocity of the particle. Yeah. So if you are able to understand this, we can. Yeah, I will wait. I will wait. Okay. So can you just make some notes here, or even before that, I will wait for this first. You start from here. Can you please take a few minutes and write this down? So I will explain again. A charged particle q moving with a velocity v is projected perpendicular to a magnetic field B. Then there is a Lorentz force acting. So F is equal to Q into V cross B. So that is equal to QVB sine theta n cap. Because the angle is 90 degrees, F is equal to QVB. Now this force is perpendicular to V and B. So this becomes equal to the centripetal force. So I can cancel VV here. And I can say R is equal to mv by bq. So the radius depends upon the velocity. So R is equal to mv by bq. Okay. So now if R is equal to mv by bq, next I am saying that, look, the angle between force and the velocity is 90 degrees. So work done by the force is 0. So work done by the force is 0. So if work done by the force is 0, there is no change in magnitude of velocity. There is no change in magnitude of velocity. There is change only in direction. Yeah, there is change only in direction. Hence, I can say the body is moving in uniform circular motion. The body is moving in uniform circular motion. Yeah. So now if the body is moving in uniform circular motion, I can now try to find out what is the time period. Time period is distance by time. Distance is 2 pi r by velocity. Now what is r equal to? R is equal to mv by bq into velocity. So v gets cancelled. So time period is equal to 2 pi m by bq. So frequency is equal to b by 2 pi into q by m. So I see that the frequency of rotation depends only on the charge by mass ratio. It doesn't depend upon the initial velocity. Common sense would have told us that if the initial velocity is high, then what will happen? If the initial velocity is high, then it should be moving faster. But now we are seeing that the frequency is same as irrespective of velocity. So what happens? If you throw it faster, the radius increases. So it compensates for the time taken. So this is what I was telling, that the initial scientist was able to tell you what is the Q by M ratio of those small charge particles, but they were not able to give you the actual charge, actual mass. It took some time for them to find out. Now, are you able to understand this? I'll be back in a second. Sir, can you please explain logically why time does not? Yeah, I can explain logically. Not by solving mathematically. Yeah. Sir, is it required for the velocity and magnetic field to be perpendicular always? That is not required. That we will see. Let us start with our assumption. We know that if it is 0, it is not circular. It just minds its own business. Only if it is 90, we see that there is a force and it starts moving in this way. Always the force, if there is a force, the force is always perpendicular. So always if there is a force, it will be circular. Yeah, sir, a cyclotron, we have not yet learnt it. So we don't want it now. Okay. Okay. So make notes first. You make notes and then we will move on. I'll wait for a minute. Now somebody is asking me, sir, can you tell me intuitively why the velocity and radius are not dependent? Why the velocity and time period are not dependent? Very simple. If you push a particle with a high mass, with a high velocity, it travels a bigger circle. If you push something with a smaller velocity, it will travel a bigger circle, a smaller circle. So this, because it's a bigger circle, Now the time taken will depend upon the velocity, but the velocity is high, so it makes up for it. That is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so here the distance traveled is 2 pi r. Here the distance traveled is 2 pi r. R is smaller here, r is larger here. Velocity is large means the radius is found to be large, because the radius is dependent on velocity. Time period is not. This is what it means. Is this understood? Okay. You please take, and most of you please try to write some notes. Don't just listen to the thing and then take some snapshots. You please try to write some notes, then you will understand it better. Okay, so are you able to understand this? Fourth slide. Okay. Yeah, fourth slide. Take some time. I will talk again after 2 minutes. It is 45 now. I will talk only at 47. Please try to understand, digest it. Yeah. Let me check. Kanishka coming late to class. If we give a particle a certain velocity and another particle a certain velocity, how will you say that it will take the same amount of time irrespective of the? I can travel a bigger circle at a greater velocity, smaller circle at lesser velocity. What is your problem? A bigger circle is being traveled with a greater velocity, and a smaller circle is being covered with a smaller velocity, such that the time taken are the same. What is your problem? Okay. So that is where the 12th standard physics gets a little bit more difficult than the 11th standard physics, because the 11th standard physics is what you practically see and face in your life. But the 12th standard physics is a little difficult because you got to imagine, and then you got to think about it. This is an experiment which somebody has conducted, and this is the result of his experiment. The result of his experiment is this, and he is giving you an explanation why it is like that. The reason is because the one who is traveling with a greater velocity is moving a bigger circle. And somebody asked me, can you explain this intuitively? Well, the whole of 12th physics, is developed mathematically. Okay, all these guys are actually mathematicians. They were not physicists. It's only after the 19th century, only after 1900, that physicist came up, that I am a physicist. Before that, they were all mathematicians, philosophers and mathematicians. Okay, and these guys were doing experiments, and based on that experiments, they have come to these conclusions. Okay, so if you are done, I will move ahead. So I go back to my experiment, or go back to the case that I was doing yesterday, and I say that look, there is a charge particle Q moving this way with a velocity Vx I cap. There is a magnetic field here, Bz k cap minus Bz. It is into the pane of paper minus Bz k cap. Then I explain to you the right hand rule. I explained to you the right hand rule, and then I said that look, the direction of the velocity can be found out by how can I find out the direction of the velocity? I can find out the direction of the velocity by taking the right hand rule. So where is it? By taking the right hand rule. Spread your right hand in the direction of the velocity. Yeah, curl your fingers towards the magnetic field. In my case, the velocity was along x-axis. So here is along x-axis. Now I am curling the fingers towards the z-axis. So when I curl my fingers towards z-axis, the thumb points in the along the y-axis. So the force was upward. Because the force was upward, if it's a positive charge, it will be moving in the upward direction. Upward direction means it will be moving anti-clockwise. Okay, are you able to get it? So stretch your right hand. Now you by mistake you keep your right hand like this, you can keep, no problem. Now the magnetic field is downward. Now you can't curl your fingers downward. Yeah. Now so the only way you can curl your fingers, suppose you kept your hand this way, again you can't curl your fingers downward. So the only way you can curl your fingers is by putting it in this direction. Now when you put it in this direction, you will see that it will come. Okay, so yeah, so I hope you are able to understand, right? So this is along the x-axis, and you're curling the fingers downwards. When you curl the fingers downwards, the thumb points along the y-axis. Now if you're moving along the y-axis, so here I am moving along the y-axis, the magnetic field is downward. If the magnetic field is downward, the force is along the negative x-axis. So by the right hand rule, I can find out what is the direction of the force acting. Okay, if A vector is like this, B vector is like this, A cross B, you curl your fingers towards B, thumb points in the direction of A cross B. So A cross B is always perpendicular to both A vector and B vector. So these are two things that I wanted to explain to you. I hope it was visible, and I hope you are able to understand what I'm trying to say. Let's come back to our class, and then let's work on the class. Yeah, 1 minute. I'll just look at the messages and come back if there is any. Yes, so let's see. So if two particles are traveling with same velocity, they are traveling with the same radius, or they do not have the same mass by, or they do not have the same Q by M ratio. Correct, absolutely correct. That is how they were able to separate particles. That's why they were able to say that electron is different, proton is different, alpha particle is different. Yes, okay. So let's move on. So I asked you a question. So the particle is given Bz k cap. If it is given Bz k cap, now how will the particle move? So you will say it is Q into V cross B. So you'll say it is Vx I cap cross minus Bz k cap. Then I explain to you Ijk, and I explain to you that look, I cross K, K cross I will give you J. So I cross K will give you minus J, minus minus will become plus, and it becomes plus Q Vx Bz J cap. That means the moment the particle enters the magnetic field, it experiences a force in the upward direction. So from all the logics that we have learned, the particle goes this way, and if the particle goes this way, the particle is traveling in a anti-clockwise manner. Yeah, if q was positive, the particle will go in an anti-clockwise manner. If it was a negative charge, the particle will go this way, and it is now going to be clockwise manner. So for positive charge, it would be like this. For negative charge, it will be like this. And you already know that radius is equal to mv by bq. So this will be the center of the circle. Center of the circle will be 0, mv by bq. So I can give you the velocity along x-axis. I can give you the magnetic field and ask you whether it will move clockwise, anti-clockwise. Where is the radius? And because you know r is equal to mv by bq, you can quickly find out and you can tell me which way it is going. Yeah, do you understand this? Yes, yes, yes. Do you get it? Whether it is going clockwise, anti-clockwise, and where is the center, not where the radius is, where the center is. Center for circular motion is. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, so if you guys understand this much, you are very good. If you understand this much, you are very, very good. Now I'm taking you to another level. I'll be doing something more complicated. So don't get confused. If you have understood so much, we good. Okay, this is JEE mains. Yeah. Now I'll just ask you some more questions. Basically, I like to ask questions. So I want to ask questions, and of course, I also like to answer them. So I will answer them. So, my dear friends, I told you that if you have a Q, if you have Vx, if you have B, this is the center and the particle moves like this, right? If the particle moves like this, can you tell me what is the location of the particle? Location of the particle. Can you tell me what is the location of the particle as a function of time? Can you tell me what is the location of the particle as a function of time? So I will tell you. So first I told you that radius is equal to mv by bq. You understood, I also understood. Then I told you time period is equal to 2 pi m by bq. You understood, I also understood. Then I told you that the particle is moving with uniform circular motion. Yeah, uniform circular motion means omega is fixed, omega is given. So particle was here at time t is equal to 0. After some time the particle reached here. So do you understand that the x coordinate is equal to this angle here is omega t, and the x coordinate is going to be equal to r sine omega t? The x coordinate is this distance. So this much, this radius is known to you here. Radius is known to you. The time period is known to you. Time period is equal to 2 pi by omega. This is equal to time period. So omega is equal to 2 pi by time period. Time period is 2 pi m by bq. We cancel. So omega is equal to bq by m. What is omega? Omega is the angular velocity with which the particle is moving in a circle. Yeah. So now if I have that, initially at time t is equal to 0, the particle was here. After some time, the particle reached here. So the x coordinate is equal to simply r sine omega t. Yeah. The y coordinate is this much. Y coordinate is r minus r cos omega t. Now you know everything. So this is equal to mv by bq sine omega. Omega is bq by m into t, and this is r 1 minus cos bq by m into t. So now I have given you the position of the particle as a function of time. So if you tell me the time, I can tell you where the particle is. Do we understand this? This is not required for CBSE, not required for board exam. This is not required for board exam. Whatever we read till now, before this is required for board exam. This is not required for board exam. Yeah, this I explained to you. Sorry, 1 minute. One minute. Yeah. Do you understand this? This is the old yes or the new yes? These are all the old yeses. Okay. Anyway, no problem. So I hope you are able to understand the position, the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So the x coordinate was equal to mv by bq sine what? Sine bq by mt. Sine bq by mt. Sine bq by m into t. Y is equal to mv by bq, then 1 minus cos bq by m into t. Yeah, I got these two. So please make sure that you are able to understand this and reach up to this level. Okay, now once you reach up to this level, can I say that dx by dt is equal to the v velocity, the I velocity I cap, that is x velocity? Do you understand that dy by dt will be equal to vy j cap? Yeah, so very clearly the body is moving in the xy plane, and in the xy plane I can get the x velocity and y velocity. So let me do some small differentiation. So it is mv by bq into bq by m into cos bq by m into t. The differential of this. Similarly, the differential of this will become mv by bq into bq by m into sine bq by m into t. The differential of cos is minus, minus, minus will become plus, and this is what you get. So BQ, BQ cancel, MM cancel, BQ, BQ cancel, MM cancel. So I'll get Vx is equal to V cos BQ by M into T, and you will get Vy is equal to V sin BQ by M into T. You will see that the magnitude of the velocity, which was equal to Vx I cap plus, is same as V, because sine squared cos squared will become 1. So here I have again proved to you that look, the velocity of the magnitude of velocity is not changing, but the direction is constantly changing. Yeah, are you able to understand this? I will wait. I will wait. I want you to start from here. I want you to understand this. One minute. Yeah. Don't worry, man. I'm repeating the same thing 10 times. I'm repeating. So don't worry. My only wish and aim is that you read and then come to class. Okay, first you understand this. First understand this. I am talking about radius. I'm talking about circular motion. If you are wanting to know how I'm talking about circular motion, here is circular motion. Here is this. Then the particle is here. So the particle is here. So I'm talking about no. This is the center. This is the center, and this is the circle. Now the particle is here. If the particle is here, then this much would be the x coordinate, and this much would be the y coordinate. This much would be the y coordinate. Now this is r cos theta, and the full thing is r. So r minus r cos theta is the y coordinate, while x coordinate is r sin theta. Clear? Okay. Anyway, no worries. You please work this out. I will give you a lot of time. Please sit down and think. Only when you think, you learn. If you just listen to me, nothing happens. Yeah, I have found out the velocity. Now I'm sure you can also find out the acceleration and then see whether you are getting back that Lorentz force all over again. Now you can differentiate velocity. Once you differentiate velocity, you get the acceleration of the particle. So this was a question which came once or twice in a JEE advanced paper, where they asked you for the velocity and acceleration of the charged particle. So a charged particle is projected into a magnetic field. Then people just said velocity won't change. No, they wanted to know the direction. So the velocity does change, and the velocity vector v vector is equal to the v cos bq by mt I cap plus sine bq by mt j cap. Okay, very clearly the particle is moving in the xy plane, and this is how the velocity of the particle changes. Okay, if there are questions, what if velocity is not perpendicular, all those things remove. We are looking at simple thing. We will keeping on complicating this. We will keep on complicating this. Right now we are doing the simplest thing. Okay, particle is moving along x-axis, magnetic field is perpendicular to it along z-axis, negative z-axis. Okay, I have waited now for long enough. Now let me just check. Can you explain the last part again? Okay, I'll explain the whole thing again. Right hand rule. Levin is asking me about the right hand rule. Okay, so Levin, what I will do is I'll explain this once, and then okay, no problem. I'll explain the right hand rule first, no issues. So first let me start my video. I have to start my video, then I want to make it big. I want to see what is it. Okay, so here, so this is the right hand rule. Okay, so I'm saying, suppose the charged particle is moving in this direction. Suppose the charged particle is moving in this direction, and the magnetic field is like this, and the magnetic field is like this. Then what do we do? So see, the charged particle is moving like this, the magnetic field is down. Stretch your right hand. You can't work with your left hand. You have to work with your right hand. Stretch your right hand in the direction of velocity. Curl your fingers towards B. Okay, now if I keep my hand like this and the B is downward, I can't curl my fingers. If I keep my hand like this, the B is downward, I can't curl my fingers. I can't curl my fingers. The only way I can curl my fingers is this way. So curl your fingers towards B. The thumb points in the direction of the force. The thumb points in the direction of the force. In our example, the force, the velocity was along x-axis. Here is along x-axis. Magnetic field was down. So I curl my fingers towards down. So in which direction is the thumb? The thumb is along the y-axis. So the force was along the y-axis. Okay. So that is what is the right hand rule. Your books, lot of people will tell you about 101 other rules. Please don't go by them. This is the only rule which will help you when you really need it in your exams. That left hand rule, right hand rule are all theoretical. They are good in the book. They are very good. But in the exam, first thing confusion will come whether to use right hand rule or left hand rule. Then the next confusion will come, which is what? Right hand, this thumb, right hand palm rule that I am telling is the best one. You will never go wrong if you learn to use it. So my velocity is in this direction. My magnetic field is inside. The velocity is in this direction. The force is in this direction. Because the force is in this direction, the center will be here. So center will be 0 mv by bq. Okay, those are the coordinates of the center. and the particle will go in a round this way. I calculated, I found out the position, I found out the position, I found out the velocity. If you differentiate it, you will get the acceleration also. Acceleration of the body. Now, once the body reaches here, now this will be the direction of the force. Once the body reaches here, this will be the direction of the force. Once the body reaches here, this will be the direction of the force. The direction of the force is always towards the center, hence we called it the centripetal force. Okay, so I hope you are able to understand this much, right? Okay, so if you guys understand this, yeah, okay. So if you understand this, now let's complicate it little bit. Okay, now let's complicate it little bit. So we have the same question. So we have the same situation. Now my velocity is equal to Vx I cap plus Vy j cap at the starting point itself. Earlier, starting point, the velocity was only in horizontal direction, I mean along the x. Now my velocity is this way. So now if my velocity is this way, magnetic field will keep it like that only. Don't worry about it. Minus Bz k cap. Okay, now the magnetic field was like that. So that means now it doesn't have a velocity like this, but it has a velocity like this. So now the moment it has a velocity like this, what did Lorentz force concept say? That F is equal to Q into V cross B. So the moment it is V cross B, the center will be somewhere here perpendicular to this. Somewhere here perpendicular to this. Now if I apply all my logics, what will R become equal to? mv by bq. Now what is this V? This V is the magnitude. So can I say that it will become m vx square plus vy square power half by bq? Yeah, so this magnitude, this is the radius. Now velocity vector is Vx I cap plus Vy j cap. Now I want to find out where is this point. I want to find out where is this point. So what to do? All of you mathematicians, can you help me? Now, do you understand that if this angle here is theta, this angle is also theta? Then do you understand that the y coordinate of the center is going to be equal to r sine theta, sorry, r cos theta? Then do you understand that the x coordinate will be minus r cos theta? This angle is theta. No. This angle is theta, so this will be cos theta. So x coordinate will become equal to minus r sine theta, and the y coordinate will become equal to plus r cos theta. This is for the center. Now what is theta? Theta is the angle which the velocity vector is making with the x-axis. How will you find that out? That is equal to tan theta is equal to Vx by Vy. The reason why these kinds of questions come in your exam is because they involve vectors. And honestly, though all of us are reading vectors, very few people know how to work with vectors, because generally all these things is not a part of theory. You look at any book, they won't talk about all these things. So that is where questions can come from. Yeah. So the same question, now the center will be here, and then the particle will be moving in a circle. It will still continue to move in the xy plane. Why will it move in the xy plane? Because when I do Vx I cap plus Vy j cap cross minus Bz k cap, I cross k will give me j, j cross k will give me I. So the force is in the xy plane. So if the force is in the xy plane, the particle will continue to move in the xy plane. Yeah, if the force is in the xy plane, the particle will continue to move in the xy plane. Everything will be the same. Instead of v, I just substitute vx square plus vy squared whole power half, Pythagoras theorem. Yeah, can you think about it a little? Can you spend little time thinking about it? So we are asking, how is it that the particle is going to move? If it had, so we started off with the perpendicular velocity, perfectly perpendicular velocity. Now we have started off with the perpendicular velocity, but having x coordinate and y coordinate. Next, we will break that also, and we will put 3 dimension vx I cap plus vy j cap plus bz k cap. But if you understand this, we'll go there. I'll be back in a second. Okay, tan theta, correct. Oh no, I don't know maths, so you guys know maths. So you please put Vx by Vy or Vy by Vx, all those things you put, please. I'm sorry about that. So they are saying that it is not Vx by Vy, it is Vy by Vx. So yeah, all those things you work. What is theta, how to work with it, all those things you do. But what I can say is this is Vx, this is Vy. So if this angle is theta, then tan theta is equal to, yeah, Vy by Vx. Okay, so yeah. Tan theta, a rectification, cot theta. Tan theta is equal to Vy by Vx. So now I know where the center is. Now once I know where the center is, everything else is the same. Now I can work out, and whatever else is being asked, I can answer. Okay. Now this question has not come. The previous question that we did came in a JEE mains. This question so far it has not come. Okay. But if you are able to understand this, I will move on and then go to the next part of it. Or we can say a break today, we can do that tomorrow also, there is no big hurry. Some indication whether you all understand it or not. Why is the y coordinate r minus r cos theta? I explained to you. Slow this slide. See, why is it r minus r cos theta? If you put one circle like this is the origin. From the origin, you are drawing a circle. So from here, suppose the particle is here. What is its y coordinate? Its y coordinate is this much. But when you do r cos theta, how much are you finding out? You are finding out this much. So now what is this? This is r. So it will become r minus r cos theta. So it is r minus r cos theta. Okay. Anyway, I think we are good for today. We're just going to reflect upon whatever we have learned. Next we will do tomorrow, so that it will give you also some time. Yeah, it will give you also some time. Here circular motion is elevated. I won't say elevated, it is inclined. It is at an angle. That's all what I will say. Okay. So good. So I'll show you the slides from the beginning, and then I mean, I know this, you guys are under a lot of stress because I think reading at home is very difficult. You can't talk to your neighbor and a lot of things. But yeah, on the other hand, you can shut off everything and then sit. Slide 2. Slide 3. Slide 4. Try to work out what I am teaching you. Don't just read it. If you read it, it will not help. Try to work out. Try to see why will it move like this? How is he saying it will move like this? What is the cross product? Do the cross product. Then you will understand things better. Okay. Now a lot of students say physics pathi trick hai na. Don't see physics. Physics pannu, maths pannu, chemistry pannu, appoda varum. Pathi trick hai na onnu varadu. Okay, 5. Here is 6. This question has come couple of times. It has come whether a particular particle will move in a clockwise manner or an anti-clockwise manner. You are asking me how come with the different velocities time is the same. So my answer was, if the velocity is high, the radius is also high, so that it will compensate. இந்த மாதிரி கேள்வி எல்லாம் போர்ட்ல எல்லாம் வராது. போர்ட்ல எல்லாம் நேரா ஸ்ட்ரைட் சிம்பிள் क्वेश्चन வரும். சோ அவ்வளவுதான். Sir, will there be any change in portion? No, there is no change in portion. Tell the test portion, sir. It is confusing for all subjects. I will tell you the test portion for physics because I am only the physics teacher. I will tell you the test portion for physics. One, you will get capacitors. Everything about capacitors, series, parallel, and questions. Second, you will get RC circuits. Third, you will get questions based on Kirchhoff's laws. Okay, so you will get only questions from around these: capacitors, RC circuits, Kirchhoff's laws. So this is where your questions will be from. Okay, so bye bye. Enjoy and all the best. Thank you.